When my childhood friend Liam first awakened his werewolf nature, one of his buddies called me to help calm his symptoms. But Liam didn't want to give me the satisfaction. We werewolves are the most loyal in love. The first person we mark becomes our soulmate for life. Even if Arya begs to help me when she arrives, I'll have to resist. But no matter how long he waited, I never showed up. He didn't know that his brother's bodyguard had been bombarding my phone. "Miss Arya, the young master has considered you his only partner for a long time. Could you come give him a kiss?" he pleaded. It turns out that 5 years ago, when I suffered a fatal skiing accident and fell into a ravine, his brother saved me by marking me and sharing half of his werewolf life, snatching me from the jaws of death. That same night, I wrapped my arms around his brother's neck and whispered, "Declan, don't hold back. Tell me, how many years have you been secretly in love with me?" Liam's entire family carried the lycanthropy. When they turned 20, they went into heat during each full moon. The first person they marked became their lifelong companion. I thought the person Liam would want to mark was undoubtedly me, but when his werewolf nature awakened, his friend called me to relieve his symptoms. Instead, I heard Liam grumbling outside the private room. "I don't want to give Arya the satisfaction. I want to win over the campus beauty, but she's not easy. Unlike Arya, who's like an eager puppy, always ready when I call. When she arrives, even if she begs to help me, I'll have to resist. I don't want to sleep with her and end up tied to her for life, completely under her command." Standing outside the room, I went blank. I never imagined that Liam, who grew up with me, would see me this way. His friends, always ready to jump on the bandwagon, burst into laughter. "So, for you, she's just a toy? Why don't I call her and tell her not to come? That way we prevent her from taking advantage of you tonight and trying to climb the social ladder through your bed." Honestly, I think you reap what you sow. But Liam uncomfortably stopped his friend. "Leave it. If we tell her not to come now, what will she think? Even if she's just entertainment, she's the girl I've indulged since childhood. My heart can't bear to hurt her feelings. When she arrives, I'll see if I can resist touching her. There are things I don't want to say out loud. This is the opportunity for her to see reality." At that moment, I wanted to burst in and shout at him, "You don't want to hurt my feelings, yet you compare me to an eager puppy in front of your friends, letting them mock and belittle me. You don't deserve my devotion." But I held back. Why waste words on someone who doesn't value me? I turned around and fled, telling myself not to cry. After thinking about it, I called his brother's bodyguard. "Remember when you begged me to help relieve Liam's brother's symptoms? Do you still need it? Send me the address right now. I'll come immediately." Half an hour earlier, the bodyguard had revealed a truth that Liam was hiding. "By the way, Miss Arya, do you remember 5 years ago when the young master took you skiing and you fell into a ravine? The older brother led the rescue mission. We searched for 3 days and nights until we found you buried under the snow, rigid as an ice sculpture. You had no pulse." At that moment, the older brother told Liam that werewolves could share half of their life with their partner through a blood ritual on the night of the full moon. That ritual is another form of marking. Once done, they would consider that person their soulmate forever. But the younger brother didn't want to do it. He still couldn't bear to let her die like that. He held her and cried inconsolably. In the end, it was the older brother who saved her. "You were very lucky. That night was a full moon, which allowed us to save you. The older brother performed the ritual and shared half of his life with you. But in doing so, he also marked you, committing himself as your companion. He begged his brother not to tell you anything. For 5 years, every full moon night, the older brother endured it alone, without bothering you, and forbidding everyone from revealing the ritual. But tonight he can't take it anymore. He's seriously injured and is fighting for his life. With the full moon, he won't survive without you. Please, could you come help him?" I was shocked. I never imagined that I had actually died. 5 years ago, Liam, who claimed to have loved me since childhood, wouldn't sacrifice half his life to save me. Instead, his cold-faced brother snatched me from the jaws of death. Still, I hardened my heart and told him, "I'm sorry, but Liam needs me more tonight." I was willing to be ungrateful just to run and help Liam, only for him to treat me like an eager puppy. A simple toy. Yes, I was truly pathetic. I deserve to be treated so cheaply. But I won't debase myself anymore. I wiped away my tears of pain and humiliation, squeezing the phone and told him, "It's too late to repay this life debt. If Declan really needs me tonight, I'll go right now. I'll give everything." The bodyguard let out a sob of relief. "It's not too late at all. Miss Arya, I'll send you the location right away. If the young master weren't at death's door on a full moon night, I would never have disobeyed his orders or told you this. The family rules are very strict." I understood. Declan probably just wanted to save my life, nothing more. He didn't want me to cling to him, and I only wanted to return the favor. It wasn't because Liam had broken my heart, and I was seeking refuge in his brother's arms. But I never imagined that when I arrived running at the VIP suite of the hospital, I would see Fiona, the campus beauty, standing outside the room, desperate to enter. Let me in quickly. Isn't it a full moon night? How do you know Mr. Declan doesn't need me? Declan, let me in to help you, please. I suddenly found it almost funny. Liam said Fiona wasn't an easy girl. And yet, there she was, offering herself to his brother. The bodyguards who previously wouldn't let Fiona in opened the door with teary eyes as soon as they saw me. Miss Arya, you finally arrived. Please come in. The young master really needs you tonight. Envy and rage twisted Fiona's face. She shrieked beside herself. Why? Arya! Yes, she can enter. Declan hurt himself so badly just to save her. She's a magnet for bad luck. How dare you let her in? I froze for a moment. That he saved me again. What did that mean? The room was already chaos. I saw Declan lying shirtless on the bed, his face flushed, his short hair soaked in sweat, his fingertips clenched from the heat consuming him. The thick white bandages on his back were soaked in bright red blood. The doctor beside him shouted anxiously, For heaven's sake, stop resisting, I beg you. Quickly find a woman to help you. The new bandages are already dripping again. How much blood do you think you have left to endure such torment? It's a full moon night. Werewolf blood boils more than normal and coagulation is nullified. Not even the best hemostatics I gave you work. We need to calm that internal fire now or you'll bleed out before dawn. Where is the girl who, according to you, can save the young master? How long will it take her to arrive? The bodyguards by the bed had already seen me. They bowed with respect and gratitude. Doctor, she's here. At those words, the man suffering his private hell suddenly opened his eyes. A pair of intimidating and brilliant dark red pupils barely contained the burning desire when they settled on my surprised and annoyed face. Who called her? Get her out of here. The bodyguard bowed. Young master, it was me. I'll accept any punishment as long as Miss Arya relieves your symptoms tonight. Besides, this time you got hurt again. Trying to save Miss Arya. You risked your life twice and never took credit for it. You may not feel aggrieved, but we do feel for you. I glanced at the imposing man lying on the bed. Although Liam and I were childhood friends, I had always avoided Declan like the plague because he was known as the living embodiment of the Grim Reaper. Even the cockiest bully became docile before him. Absolute dominance. Normally, I would flee at the sight of him. Now, this man who inspired dread clung to the sheets, his feet involuntarily curled, fighting against himself. Every part of his body radiated waves of heat, his breathing increasingly ardent. The contrast was hypnotic. A beautiful man even in his agony. Fascinating. What do you mean he was seriously injured for me again? I asked. The bodyguard was about to speak, but Declan cut him off sharply. Shut up. Try to say another word. Then he changed to a soft though distant tone to address me. Arya, leave. I don't need you here. The bodyguard, taking a risk, replied, Young master, drop the act already. You won't get a wife by acting tough. Your mouth is hard, but your heart is soft. When Miss Arya is in danger, you risk your life. You'd even enter a fire for her. Do you think we're blind? There was more than one bodyguard in the room, and all of them, without fear, began to vent. That's right. Remember the full moon night last month? Who was staring at Miss Arya's photo on his phone, sighing like crazy until you were delirious calling her name? We bet you dreamed about her too. And the previous full moon? You parked your car outside Miss Arya's dormitory all night. How many times did you want to go in and stop yourself at the last second? Even a ninja turtle would kneel and say, Daddy? If we don't speak up, Miss Arya will never know. Do you really want to endure this your whole life? Shut up, I can bear it, Declan muttered, lowering his gaze. The doctor beside him erupted. Bear my foot. If you continue like this, you won't see the sun rise. Miss, why are you standing there? Do something to relieve him. The bodyguards bowed even lower with the utmost reverence. But what do I do? I have no idea. The doctor, while cutting the bloodied bandages with scissors, blurted out, Kiss him. I blushed to my ears. Standing by the headboard, I didn't know how to kiss this proud man in front of everyone. Suddenly, a bodyguard exclaimed, Miss Arya, do you know how the young master got hurt? 2 days ago, the auditorium at your school caught fire. Were you not trapped there? Unable to escape? You even fainted from the smoke. You almost suffocated. But it was the young master who pulled you from the flames. Thanks to the marking, the young master senses when his partner is in danger. He ignored those of us who tried to stop him and launched himself into the inferno to find you. When he was carrying you out, a beam fell and set his entire back on fire. Even so, he endured the pain and used his last strength to get you out, only for his brother to snatch you from his arms. As soon as the younger one saw the older carrying the miss, he ran and took you away. If he cared so much, why didn't he go in himself to save you? What? I couldn't believe it. So that's how Declan got hurt. I remembered waking up from the coma 2 days ago with Liam by my side. I had assumed he had saved me. Today's avalanche of information left no room for shyness or embarrassment. Saving a life was the priority. Without thinking further, I leaned towards Declan and, looking at his sensual lips, kissed him hard. "Don't touch me," Declan growled, pushing me away. But his hands gripped the sheets tighter and tighter. He was trying so hard to resist that his Adam's apple bobbed up and down, his eyes burning. Frightening. "Don't touch me," Declan growled again. But there was something in his eyes that contradicted his words. I looked at him steadily, feeling a strange heat course through my body. All my life I had been running after Liam, begging for crumbs of affection, while the man in front of me had literally sacrificed half his life to save me. "Declan," I whispered, approaching his lips again. "Let me help you." His eyes, two burning embers, looked at me with an intensity that took my breath away. At that moment, all the bodyguards and the doctor discreetly left the room, leaving us alone. The head bodyguard turned before closing the door. "Miss Arya, please save him. He'll never admit it, but he's been watching you from afar for years." When the door closed, I was left alone with this imposing man writhing in pain and desire. How many times had I passed near him without noticing his gaze? How many times had I dismissed his presence to chase after Liam? "Go!" Declan insisted with a hoarse voice. "I can bear it." "Liar," I replied, finding a courage I didn't know I had. "The bandages are soaked in blood. You're dying." With a determined movement, I sat on the edge of the bed. The heat emanating from his body was almost unbearable, like a human furnace. "You don't know what you're doing," he growled as his fingers involuntarily closed around the sheets. "Once I start, I won't be able to stop." I remembered his words. We werewolves are the most loyal in love. The first person we mark becomes our soulmate for life. "Ah, how long have you been suffering this for me?" I asked, feeling something break inside my chest. 5 years of full moons enduring this pain alone. Declan didn't respond, but his breathing became more labored. Beads of sweat purled on his forehead and his perfectly sculpted chest. Suddenly an idea occurred to me. If you marked me 5 years ago and suffered during each full moon, this means you've never... His eyes met mine, and in them I saw the answer. He had never sought relief with another woman. He had remained faithful to a bond that I didn't even know existed. "Why?" I asked, feeling tears form in my eyes. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because you were in love with my brother," he finally responded, his voice a harsh whisper. "You've always been in love with him." The truth of his words hit me like a slap. All these years chasing Liam, begging for his attention while he saw me as an eager puppy, a convenient toy. And here was Declan, sacrificing himself in silence. "Not anymore," I said with determination, moving closer. "I'm not in love with him anymore." I took his face in my hands, feeling the fever of his skin. Without thinking further, I joined my lips to his in a kiss that began softly but quickly turned desperate. The effect was immediate. An animal growl emerged from deep in his throat and his arms, powerful as steel, surrounded me, drawing me to him. The heat between us was scorching, as if we were both burning from within. His hungry and demanding lips claimed mine, as if he had been waiting for this moment for an eternity. Perhaps he had been. As we kissed, I felt something strange inside me, a liquid heat, different from anything I had experienced before. It began to expand from my chest throughout my body. It was as if something dormant for years was finally awakening, the part of him that lived in me. Declan pulled his lips away for a moment, his eyes now completely red, shining like rubies in the dim light. "Arya," he gasped. Your eyes." I stood up confused and walked to the bathroom mirror. What I saw left me breathless. My eyes, normally brown, now shone with a golden amber tone, like those of a wolf under the moon. I returned to the bed, fascinated and frightened in equal parts. "What's happening to me?" "The part of me that lives in you," he explained, his breathing calmer. "It's now responding to my presence and the full moon." I sat beside him, noticing that the bandages were no longer bleeding as much. The simple contact between us seemed to be healing him. "It's always been like this. Every full moon." Declan nodded, reaching for my hand and intertwining his fingers with mine. Such a simple gesture, and yet so intimate. "The first year was the worst," he confessed. "I didn't know how to control it. I almost came looking for you several times." "Why didn't you?" His gaze darkened. "I saw you with Liam, always smiling for him, always by his side. What right did I have to impose myself?" Rage grew inside me at the thought of all the wasted time. "He never really saw me," I said, the words coming out bitter from my mouth. "For him, I'm just entertainment." Declan sat up, ignoring the pain from his wounds, and took my face in his hands. His eyes, now calmer but still bright, studied me intensely. "You were never entertainment for me," he said in a deep voice. "From the first time I saw you, so small next to my brother, I knew you were special. But you were too young and too captivated by him." I vaguely remembered the first time I saw Declan. I was 12 and he was 17, tall and serious, always observing from afar, always intimidating. You scared me, I confessed with a small smile. Everyone said you were like death personified. He let out a soft laugh, the sound so unexpected that it made me shiver. I know. And perhaps it was better that way, keeping you away. And now? I asked, feeling that we were on the edge of something important. His eyes turned serious. Now I can't let you go, even if I wanted to. The heat in my body increased at his words. Was this what it felt like to be truly desired? Not as a toy or amusement, but as someone invaluable? Declan leaned forward, brushing his lips against my ear. I won't force you into anything, Arya. If after tonight you want to leave, I'll understand. What I did 5 years ago was selfish. I didn't want to live in a world without you. His honesty left me speechless. This man so feared by everyone was completely vulnerable before me. For the first time in my life, I felt the power of being truly loved. Without thinking, I leaned toward him and kissed him again. This kiss, different from the previous one, had no desperation, but something deeper, more meaningful. I'm not going anywhere, I whispered against his lips. Not tonight, not tomorrow, not ever. The relief on his face was like seeing the dawn, beautiful and transformative. Slowly, he drew me to him until I was lying by his side, careful not to press on his wounds. In that moment, with the full moon shining through the window and the heat of our bodies mingling, I understood what it meant to be truly loved. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like an eager puppy, but like a she-wolf finding her mate. Dawn found me awake, observing Declan's serene face as he slept. During the night, his wounds had healed considerably, the skin regenerating at a rate impossible for a normal human. My presence, my touch, seemed to be all he needed during those hours. He told me everything, how he had watched me grow always from afar, how after the accident when my heart stopped under the snow, Liam had refused to mark me. I don't want to be tied to her forever, his brother had said while I lay lifeless in the snow. Declan, desperate, made the decision that would change our lives forever. He marked me, sharing half of his werewolf essence with me, knowing that it meant we would be eternal companions. But I never wanted to impose it on you, he explained last night, caressing my cheek tenderly. I preferred to suffer every full moon than force you to be with me. His sacrifice now seemed so evident to me, so beautiful and painful at the same time. A soft knock on the door interrupted my thoughts. The head bodyguard peeked in, smiling at seeing us together. Miss Arya, young Liam is here. He demands to see you. I felt Declan's body tense beside me, his eyes opening immediately, alert and cautious. He doesn't have to come in if you don't want, his protective voice said. But I'd already made my decision. I want to see him, I affirmed. There are things that need to be made clear. I got up, adjusting my clothes and my disheveled hair. Declan also stood up, visibly better than the night before, although the bandages on his back still showed stains of dried blood. I'll go with you, he declared. His tone didn't allow for discussion. The bodyguard led us to a private room where Liam was waiting for me, nervously pacing back and forth. When he saw us enter together, his face transformed into a mask of disbelief and rage. What the hell does this mean? He demanded, his eyes fixed on my hand, firmly intertwined with Declan's. I stood firm, feeling a new confidence flow within me. It means I've finally opened my eyes, Liam. His gaze oscillated between us, stopping at his brother's bandages. So you took advantage of his weakness, he accused me, after all we've shared. Declan stepped forward, but I restrained him with a gentle gesture. This was my battle. Shared? I replied, my voice loaded with all the accumulated bitterness. Do you mean when you called me your eager puppy? Or when you told your friends that I was just entertainment for you? The color left his face. You heard that? Every word, I confirmed. Every humiliation, every mockery. While you were planning to win over Fiona, I was running to help you because I thought you needed me. Liam ran his hand through his hair, clearly nervous. I didn't mean it. I was just impressing my friends. That makes it worse. Declan intervened, his voice dangerously calm. You used her as currency to elevate your status. You ridiculed her when she would have given her life for you. The brothers looked at each other, years of unresolved tension floating between them. It's not fair, Liam protested, his expression changing to one of childish indignation. I've always had her at my disposal, and now that I finally awaken my nature, you take her. Something broke inside me upon hearing those words. A rage that I didn't know I could feel began to grow, and with it, a strange sensation throughout my body. At your disposal, I repeated. Is that what you think? That I'm a possession? To my surprise, my hands began to tremble and I felt an intense heat run through me. Declan noticed it immediately and surrounded me with his arm. Arya, calm down, he whispered in my ear. The full moon still has an effect on you. Don't let it control you. But it was too late. The rage, the humiliation, Everything I had kept inside for years exploded within me. I felt my nails lengthen, turning into sharp claws while an animal growl escaped from my throat. Liam backed away, fear evident in his eyes. "What's happening to her?" he asked, alarmed. Declan held me firmly, his presence an anchor in the midst of the storm consuming me. "She carries my blood," he explained. "When I marked her, I gave her half of my life, of my essence. Now that part is awakening. Fighting to control the sensations invading me, I managed to articulate, 'I was never yours, Liam. I never belonged to you. And now I clearly see that you're a spoiled child who discards what he has until someone else wants it.' His eyes narrowed. "You don't know what you're talking about. Declan has always wanted what's mine. Always what's yours." Declan's voice resonated, dangerous. "Do you mean the girl you let die under the snow because you didn't want to be tied to her forever?" Liam's face paled even more. "No, I didn't. I was there," Declan continued, implacable. "I begged you to mark her, to share your life with her. You refused. You said it was too much sacrifice for someone who was just your friend." The pieces fit in my mind. All these years thinking that Liam valued me, that he was simply shy or indecisive. "You let me die?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Liam averted his gaze. "I didn't think it would work. I wasn't sure." Declan snorted. "Lie. You knew perfectly well that it would work. You preferred to preserve your precious freedom than save her life." The silence that followed was deafening. I looked at Liam. I really looked at him, perhaps for the first time. I no longer saw the idealized boy of my fantasies, but a selfish man incapable of loving anyone but himself. "Leave," I finally said. "I don't want to see you again." "You can't be serious," he protested, taking a step toward me. "Are you going to choose him? Cold, insensitive Declan?" I felt Declan's hand tense over mine, but when I spoke, I did so with total clarity. "There's nothing cold about a man who gave half of his life to save me, who endured years of pain in silence to not impose his presence on me, who risked everything to rescue me from a fire." I took a step toward Liam, feeling a new strength flow through my veins. "The true coldness is letting someone who says they matter to you die. It's humiliating her in front of your friends. It's treating her like a convenient object that you can use and discard." Liam opened his mouth to protest, but something in my gaze stopped him. Perhaps it was my eyes which, according to Declan, now shone with a supernatural golden tone. Or perhaps it was the certainty in my voice. "This conversation is over," I declared. "Declan and I have a lot to talk about, and you are no longer part of our lives." I turned around, taking Declan's hand, ready to leave. But Liam's voice, now charged with childish rage, stopped us. "This doesn't end here. She belongs to me. She's always been mine." In the blink of an eye, Declan released my hand and moved with superhuman speed. He grabbed his brother by the neck, lifting him off the ground with one hand, his eyes burning with an intense red. "Listen well, little brother," he growled, his voice more animal than human. "Arya is not a possession. She's not a toy, and she was certainly never yours." Liam kicked, trying to free himself from the iron grip. "If you come near her again, if you speak to her like that again, I'll forget that we share blood." Is that clear? Barely able to breathe, Liam nodded frantically. Declan released him, letting him fall to the floor, where he coughed and gasped, trying to catch his breath. When he returned to my side, his eyes had returned to normal, but the power emanating from him was undeniable. "Let's go," he said softly, extending his hand to me. I took it without hesitation, and we left the room, leaving behind Liam and everything he represented in my life. The sun was shining brightly when we left the hospital. Declan, although still convalescing, moved with a natural grace that I had always secretly admired. "What happens now?" I asked as we headed to his car. He looked at me with that intensity that made my heart race. "Now we start again," he responded, a slight smile curving his lips. "No secrets? No silent sacrifices. I like how that sounds." I smiled, feeling a freedom that I had never before experienced. As we drove away, I saw Fiona at the entrance of the hospital, her face distraught. Seeing us together, I couldn't help but feel a small satisfaction. In the car, Declan took my hand, his fingers intertwining with mine as if they had been destined for this forever. "There's something else you should know," he said, his voice serious. "The mark means that we're united in ways that not even I completely understand. What you felt last night, that part of me awakening in you, will increase." "Am I becoming a werewolf?" I asked, more curious than scared. He nodded partially. "The full moon will affect you, though not as much as me. You'll have strength, sharpened senses, a connection with me that will transcend the physical." I considered his words, feeling that I should be terrified, but instead, a strange calm invaded me. "Will I live as long as you?" I asked, referring to the part of his life that we now shared. His gaze softened. "Yes, We'll age together at a slower rate than normal humans. I smiled, squeezing his hand. So we have plenty of time to get to know each other properly, don't you think? His deep and sincere laughter filled the car. A lifetime, he confirmed. And this time I don't plan to watch you from afar. As the sun shone on us and the city was left behind, I felt that I had finally found my place in the world. Not as Liam's shadow, not as the girl who begged for crumbs of affection, but as Declan's partner, strong and valued. The golden eyes of the wolf that now lived in me shone with anticipation of the future that awaited us.